move over to this one area that we as a ministry keep track of all the time, and that is our End Time Sinkholes page on Facebook. So here's how I came to create that sinkhole Facebook page and to track sinkholes. This has been going on for a while, a few years. God revealed this to me about the sinkholes, but not just me, but others too. And so as sinkholes are appearing all over the planet, it's an end time sign pointing to the soon coming of Christ. And so I want to give my testimony on how I came to watching sinkholes. But let me just talk about what happened. Before any reports of sinkholes around the world, about 2010, before the first report of any sinkholes that I was aware of came out on the news, then I was stunned by a dream the Lord gave me about a sinkhole. And I thought, what kind of thing is this? Okay. Because this dream had a big sinkhole swallow a house. But it was, to me, it was just a big hole. And I had never witnessed anything like it before. I mean, seriously, I had never seen anything like this before. And in my dream, I see half of a house swallowed up into a hole, basically a sinkhole. And so fast forward, and now sinkholes are everywhere and they're showing up in all continents. And now I had an End Times news report assistant back in that period of time frame, and her name was Stace, and she was very helpful at that time. Now, she did not know about the dream I had. And so she sent me a dream at the same time. She's from Jamaica, and the dream had, in which neither one of us knew the other had the same dream, and how similar the dreams were in content regarding sinkholes. Okay, so here is her dream, and I'll just read this really quickly. She says, "This is a dream I received from the Lord concerning the sinkholes that are happening and worldwide." She said, "In this dream, I was taken by someone who seemed like an angel and shown numerous sinkholes around the world and in different countries. And these holes were extremely dark. The last sinkhole I was allowed to view had a man guarding it. I somehow wondered why someone would need to be standing beside something as treacherous as a sinkhole to be guarding it. And at that time, I heard the Lord say to me in the dream that these sinkholes are portals to hell. And there were figures and shadows going in and out of these holes. And my dream ended there." Okay, so my dream was very interesting because I mentioned that I saw the house fall in, but I want to also add that I saw in the dream inside wall of the sinkhole, there was a staircase coming down in and out of the sinkhole up to the surface. And on the staircase, I saw dark figures ascending up out of the sinkhole. And somehow I knew these dark figures were demonic. And so this is what I dreamed. And this was about a couple years before any reports of sinkholes around the world. And I was even stunned by the dream. Like, what kind of thing is this? But I remember it very clearly, and I don't always remember my dreams. Now, there was another sister in Christ who wrote and reported the same thing to me, and she said that she was driving home after dropping her boys off at school, and she was having a quiet prayer time with the Lord. And the Lord said out of the blue that every time a sinkhole appears, demons are being released. And that was it. She said, "I was thinking the world feels darker than I heard him." And so he told this to her. And she sent it to me because she had read our dreams and everything. But I want to mention, now people are going to say, okay, well, what does the sinkhole thing have to do with end times? Okay, so here's my answer. My answer is the sinkholes are actually utilized by God as judgment in the Old Testament. And we can see that in the period of Korah, when he got in trouble with Moses and Aaron because he was calling them out. And God said for them to stand in front of their tents with their people. And basically, in Numbers 16:32, it says, "The earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up and their houses and all the men that appertained unto Korah and all their goods." So that even included the men that sided with Korah against Moses and Aaron. So it was definitely a form of punishment and judgment, by the way. And how do we know? I can tell you for a fact that there are multiple scriptures, I'm going to read them, about hell being in the earth. And so you might want to listen to these. Numbers 16:30 says, "But if the Lord brings about an entirely new thing, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that is theirs, and they descend alive into Sheol, then you will understand that these men have spurned the Lord." Numbers 16:31 says, "As he finished speaking all these words, the ground that was under them split open." Numbers 16:32 goes on to say, "And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up and their households and all the men who belonged to Korah with their possessions." And it goes on to say, "So they and all that belonged to them went down to Sheol, and the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly." Okay, let's check this out. Amos 9:2 says, "Though they dig into hell, thence shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down." Job 11:8 says, "They are higher than heavens. What can you do? They are deeper than Sheol. What can you know?" And just, we continue to see reference to hell being in the earth. In Matthew 11:23, "And you, Capernaum, will be lifted up to heaven. No, you will be brought down to Hades. For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Sodom, it would have remained in this day." Romans 10:7 says, "Who will descend into the abyss?" And we talk about descending down into the abyss. Let's take a look in Revelation 9:1 and 2. "Then the fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth, and it was given the key to the pit of the abyss. The star opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke from the pit." Okay, so I've read several scriptures there. We know that the connotation is that hell is in the earth. Now, I want to talk about this. So, given what happened, it wasn't very long after I'd had my dream that there was someone who went into a sinkhole while he was in his bed sleeping in Florida. That was the first time that I heard of such a thing. And I don't think they recovered this man. And even the engineers went down. They couldn't figure out how just the bedroom of that house went in and not any of the other house. But eventually they tore out that house from that area. But the point being, when I heard that news story, I almost fell over because it was just like my dream. And I was completely shocked because my dream was so vivid. And of course, my friend in Jamaica who told me her story. And I was just stunned. And then from that point on, I began to see a lot of sinkhole activity, not just in Florida, but all over the planet. And so I felt the Lord wanted me to start to track this and let people know what was going on. And so came up with the Facebook page called End Times Sinkholes. Now I want to go further and talk about something shocking. If you are watching out at the Dead Sea, the Dead Sea over there by Israel is significant because many believe it is the site of Sodom and Gomorrah and the other two cities that were destroyed by God. And if you were to look at that place recently, just recently, there have been 1,000 sinkholes that have come up. And one of our good friends, Rebecca, who helps with this ministry, she pointed out to me, well, what about all the sinkholes in Turkey? And so there have literally been tons and tons of sinkholes that have also opened up in the area of Turkey. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, you can go over there and check it out. Now, what is significant about that? Well, that is the area where Noah's Ark, and we find probably was located in Mount Ararat in Turkey. And so what do the areas of the Dead Sea with all the sinkholes opening up have in common with the area in Turkey with all the sinkholes opening up? Well, those are both of the locations of the areas in which we find Abraham and Lot having to leave because God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah and two other cities because of their evil. And we also find the area near Noah's Ark, which would be the Turkey area, being a location where there was a lot of evil going on, and God was going to get Noah out of that area on the ark. So, in both locations, actually, if you go into the Bible talks about these end days being very much like the time of Lot and the time of Noah. And so shall it be as the time of the coming of the Son of Man. And so here we have, what do we have with these two locations? A lot of sinkholes opening up. What did God speak to us in our dreams about sinkholes? That it was having to do with the activity of the demonic leaving the earth and coming out. And I mean, if you haven't noticed how much crime is going on around the world, I truly believe that the demonic and the evil spirits are coming out, even the ones that were taking place in the time of Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah are being released by God into the earth. I do believe it. And so that is the connection. That is what the dream points out. And that is the connection to these sinkholes all over the world. And the fact that I've had others come to me and tell me that they've been told the same thing by the Lord just even more confirms what I had already seen myself for myself and been shown. And it all correlates. The more these sinkholes open up, the more evil that we see coming out in the earth. What does this all mean? What this means is that we are in the end days, and this is preparatory for the tribulation. And it is God who is the Holy Spirit, also who is the restrainer that is holding back the evil. But one of these days, the restrainer is going to take the church out of the way and will no longer hold back the evil that I think is already here in the earth and growing. So these are very serious times. They're extraordinarily serious times. And so we need to focus on the Lord like never before and prepare ourselves. People need to be ready. They need to be ready to face the Lord at any point in time, to be able to give an account of their life to God. No one is going to escape that point.